We come to the last fundamental difference, and this is really a cornerstone of our judicial system. It is the notion that double jeopardy, a constitutional right, attaches to a criminal proceeding. That means that the government only gets one bite at the apple. The government is bringing all of its resources to bear on this criminal defendant, and as such, the government gets one chance to bring in all the crimes with respect to one transaction, and one chance to prove them all. So for example, the government brings defendant to trial, and defendant's acquitted. And the government says, oh, excuse me, I didn't really do a great job. My opening statement was flat. I didn't have a good closing argument. I was suffering from a cold. I want a do-over. There's no do-over in criminal law if the defendant was acquitted. So if the defendant was acquitted, we say double jeopardy attaches, and that means the state may not appeal that particular acquittal. That tells us something very important about the cases you're going to be reading. If you're reading a case that's at the appellate level in criminal law, that means defendant lost at the trial court level. Because if the defendant had won at the trial court level, there could never be an appeal. So what happens if defendant's convicted? If defendant is convicted, defendant can appeal. And once defendant appeals, double jeopardy no longer applies. It no longer attaches. That means that both the defendant and the state can continue to appeal until final resolution. How might that look? So defendant's convicted at trial court, defendant then appeals, he goes up in front of an intermediate court, we'll call that court the Court of Appeals. And the Court of Appeals says, defendant, you're right, you didn't get a fair trial. We are going to find in favor of you. Does it stop there? The answer is no. Once we are on that ladder of appeal, the state can now appeal that Court of Appeals decision and take it up to the state Supreme Court level. So both state and defendant can continue to appeal until final resolution. If there is an appeal, there's one wrinkle we have to watch for. It's called the ex post facto rule. Let's suppose our defendant has been convicted of manslaughter at the trial court level. If he takes it up on appeal, the most he could get on retrial is the same charge of manslaughter. We would never want him to face a prospect of being convicted of murder on retrial or facing the death penalty on retrial. That would be very unfair because it would chill him. Maybe he shouldn't take the appeal. So if he is going to take the appeal, the most he could get in that new criminal trial would be the same conviction he had the first time. One of the things to watch for are charges that could occur in the state and in the federal level at the same time. That is not a violation of double jeopardy. So for example, we had the devastating case of Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. That was a federal building that was bombed in the state of Oklahoma. So there were important state charges to be filed and federal criminal charges that could be filed. They get to be filed at the same time. It's not a violation of double jeopardy for both of those proceedings to take place.